Hi guys, sorry for being offline for a long time. This'll be the last episode of this series. I'll explain at the end of the video why I'm ending the series. Don't worry, I'm working on a new series called What If Deku Had Devil Mario's Powers. Let's get started now. Season 3 Episode 3. The Summer Camp Invasion. Class 1B goes into the forest. Vlad King wants them to get to training pronto. Class 1A has been hogging the spotlight, and because of Deku he wants them to break themselves harder than they ever could. Everyone in Class 1A was working to increase the power output of their quirks. Everyone was doing the same training they originally did in canon. The only difference is that Deku was fighting against Shoto and Tenya. Everyone in Class 1B was wondering how the teachers were going to keep track of all the students who were using their quirks all at once. That's where the Wild Pussycats come in, and that I mean the full version. All 4 members were there to keep track of everyone's progress. The members of the Wild Pussycat took notice of Deku. They asked Shota who that was, and he replied by saying he's his strongest student. Some of the members laughed at what he said until he told them that he defeated All Might. Even Koda was watching Deku train his body and skills. Later that day, the students attempted to cook for themselves since the instructors said that they weren't going to provide them with any food. They started using the ingredients provided to create their own curry. Deku says that Tenya can take off his mask since it's nighttime and plus it's time to eat. Everyone was having an amazing time eating curry. Deku notices that Mandalay's nephew didn't get any food as he walks off. Deku tracks the kid down onto a mountain with a cave. In a surprised voice, Koda asked, "How did you find out where I was?" "It's not that hard to find someone when you have the senses of a vampire," said Deku. "I heard you moving around. Also, I brought you some curry." Koda doesn't want anything to do with Deku. He tells the stand prodigy to get lost and to forget that he saw his secret hideout. He also tells Deku that it's dumb to have a quirk since all the heroes just want to show off. Deku politely asks the little guy if his parents were the water hose heroes, and this pissed off Koda due to the fact that he knew about his parents. Koda hates quirks due to the superheroes and supervillains just showing off their powers 1 minute and then killing each other the next. Koda hates the super society in general. Hey, Koda, let me tell you something. You may not trust me or anyone with a quirk. Just know you can trust me. I'll take down your parents' killer and I'll protect you until I leave. I understand your pain because my mom needs a heart before she dies. She's in the hospital for now. Deku puts the curry down for Koda and leaves. Meanwhile, the League of Villains, new squad named Vanguard Action Squad, arrived on the top of a mountain scouting the camp. Himiko was complaining about how the gear looked. Mustard, a villain with a helmet with a built-in gas mask, tells the psycho school girl that she should be more into the gear working than how it looks. A masked hoodie villain wanted to let loose already, but Dabi said that they needed to wait for the 3 other members to arrive. Dabi thinks that his squad of elites could do more damage for the league than common thugs could. On the 3rd day of the camp, the students who failed the final exam were having a hard time staying awake since they had to push themselves so much. Everyone was pushing themselves since some of them barely passed. Deku wasn't actually training, he was focusing his mind while meditating. He was talking to the world about the strange mysterious power he demonstrated in the ball throw. They both needed to figure out how Deku could grasp that power of his and harness it. Deku couldn't force himself to bring out the full power of the mask no matter how hard he tried. He had already meditated for 4 hours straight in his mind. Later at night, Shota takes the remedial students, aka the same students who failed the final exams, back to teach them more lessons. Everyone was going to participate in a mini-game. The mini-game will have Class 1A walk around the forest while Class 1B tries to scare them by using their powers. Everyone is paired up with a partner except Deku, who's stood by himself, but he's okay with this. Suyu and Ochako walked through the forest by themselves. They were quite scared and wished that Deku was with them since he made them feel like they were safe. Itsuka, Yui, and Juzo were having a fun time talking about how they startled everyone in Class 1A except Deku, Tenya, and Shoto. Yui, Juzo, and Itsuka were students from Class 1B. They kept laughing until they smelt something burning. Juzo fell asleep due to being exposed to an unknown poisonous gas. Itsuka grabs Yui with her quirk while covering her mouth. Everyone started noticing there was black smoke in the air, meaning that a fire started. Dabi was causing the fire to rage out. The small villain squad was planning to take down some of the pro heroes and capture Todoroki, Bakugo, or even Deku. All of a sudden, a thought hit Deku out of the blue. Koda was by himself and could be getting attacked at any moment. This was true because a villain managed to sneak up right behind him. At his secret cave hideout, Koda started remembering what Mandalay said. Koda, I know you hate superheroes, but someday you'll figure out why society needs superheroes. Koda refused to see a reason why heroes should exist. He started noticing that a fire was happening on the mountainside. Shota brought Rikido, Mina, Denki, Hanta, and Eijiro back to his class to learn more lessons. Nito was making fun of the class and said that only one person from his class failed, himself. Before class began, everyone started hearing a voice that gathered everyone's attention. Mandalay informs everyone that villains are attacking the camp and there are probably even more villains on the way. Shota tells Vlad King to watch over the students in the classroom as he runs outside and sees the chaos. He's then ambushed by Dabi, who shoots him with his blue fire quirk. In the forest, Spinner, a lizard villain, says that his squad's name is called the Vanguard Action Squad. Magna, a villain with a magnet-like quirk, threatens to kill Ryuko, but Spinner tells him to play by Stain's principles. Spinner recognizes Tenya as the same kid that Stain killed for attacking him for retribution and being a false hero. He pulls out his sword and says that he'll help Stain's dream become a reality. Deku said that if he hurts him, he'll kill him. Tiger says that he doesn't care if he's doing this for Stain or the League, he'll stop him no matter what. Deku tells Mandalay that Koda was at a cave hideout on one of the mountains. Somewhere else in the forest, Tetsu regroups with Itsuka and Yui and gives them gas masks he got from Momo after helping her and some of her teammates. Tetsu said that he was going to fight and help others despite Itsuka's protest to retreat. Tetsu believed that this was his class's time to shine since Class 1A has always been fighting villains and getting stronger because of it. As Mandalay's message was played in Koda's mind, he was cornered by the masked villain. After removing the mask and his hoodie, the kid remembered the villain from that day his parents were taken from him. This was his parents' killer, Muscular. The villain was close to ending the kid's life there, but his arm was cut off by shurikens. Deku actually stopped time and threw them at him. The villain recoils while Deku picks up Koda and asks if he's okay. "Oh, I recognize you. You were on the list of our targets to capture." Deku doesn't have his phone, so he can't call for help. He also didn't tell anyone where he was going, so he had to fight the monstrous flesh villain in a 1v1. Deku spawns his stand as he says to Koda that he'll protect him no matter what. Somewhere else in the forest, Bakugo and Todoroki were walking through the forest until they found a villain that was admiring a severed arm. The villain was wearing all black clothes and didn't have any arms. He also had some brace that held his mouth open. Bakugo asked Todoroki who was in front of them, and he said it was Tokiyami and Shoji. This villain might have cut one of their arms off. Tiger and Mandalay were fighting against Magna and Spinner. Spinner wants to kill Mandalay and Tiger due to his Stain-like mindset. Mandalay distracts Spinner by calling him her type with her quirk. She tries to attack the lizard villain with her claws but misses. Magna used his magnet-like quirk to pull Mandalay towards him, but Tiger intervened before he could knock out the Cat Pro hero. Tiger tells Magna that he's wanted for 9 counts of robbery, 3 murders, and 29 attempted murders, but this doesn't faze him at all. Mandalay realized that she hadn't heard from Ragdoll in a while, and that was unusual. Magna thought that she probably had already died. Back to the fight on the mountain, Deku's Stand the World and Muscular were clashing punches. Deku and Muscular were on par when it came to strength, but it quickly turned when Muscular started using even more power. The World's punches could barely break through the thick muscle fibers he had. Muscular was even able to move through his time stop for a few seconds. To Deku, it felt like he was fighting All Might again. He tried to use his laser eyes and managed to burn through his skin a little, but Muscular kept dodging. Deku then tries to freeze his body, but Muscular quickly catches on and yanks one of Deku's arms off. "What's wrong? Your attacks were hurting me a second ago, but now they feel like someone's trying to tickle me." Deku punches Muscular in his face so hard that he spits up blood. Hee. Finally, Muscular grabs Deku by his collar and smashes him into the ground. Deku's face was covered in blood. Deku was scared, but he wasn't giving up. He was in bad shape, but he didn't care. He wanted to win. "Mr. Izuku, no," said Kota. Kota tries to punch the Muscular flesh villain but gets slapped away. Muscular repeatedly punches Deku in his face over and over again. Muscular was about to kill Deku as he readied his last punch. This is where something happened in Deku's mind world. Instead of a frozen world, he sees a group of vampires and zombies kneeling in front of another vampire that was kinda naked sitting on a throne. His hair was raised, he wore a purple scarf, some boots, forearm guards, a loincloth, and a thong. This was none other than the ultimate vampire from Part 2 of JoJo, Cars. Also, this is the novel version of Cars. Izuku Midoriya said, "Ultimate Cars, welcome to the family." Deku was confused about who he was and where he was. Cars introduces himself as the creator of the stone mask and the master of all vampires from his world. He was a villain before, but after he got killed, his soul was trapped inside the mask, which got reincarnated into this world. The world gets into an argument with Cars about being the king of vampires, which confuses Deku. Deku asks his stand about how he was a vampire. He said that he was the stand user of the world before Deku. He was Dio Brando, but his soul was reincarnated into his stand after dying to his enemies of the legendary Joestar bloodline. Deku figures out that these people were villains from how they were acting. Deku asks Dio aka the world why he wanted to train him then. Dio said that he wanted to see someone like him work to achieve the power of heaven. Deku and Cars perked up after hearing this. Dio said that he'll tell him about another time. Cars says to Deku that he'll help him since he's in trouble, and then he'll teach him how to tap into his infinite potential and powers. Cars puts out a hand for Izuku. "Take my hand and the ultimate life form will show you the way." Without any hesitation, Deku grabs his hand. Back in the real world, Muscular launched the final blow at Izuku until he caught it. Izuku started glowing a purple and golden aura around his entire body. His eyes changed from their normal green color to bloody red. His hair also changes from normal green and black to purple and golden. His arm even grew back instantly. This surprised Kota, but it mostly surprised Muscular. He thought he didn't have any strength left, so where did he get all this strength? Deku bitch-slapped the villain deep into the side of the mountain. Muscular actually took damage from that attack. Muscular launches himself at Deku and tries to punch him, but in a blink of an eye, all of his flesh gets cut off by blades coming out of Deku's arms. Deku then pointed his hand at the crazy lunatic and he seemingly teleported to him, so basically he did the whole Zahando thing and warped him close to him. Deku drives his sword into the flesh villain's lung, injuring the villain as he quickly passes out from the pain. He proceeded to heal Kota by pumping some blood into his body. Kota proceeds to hug Deku as he brushes his hair in silence. Kota was crying in silence since Deku saved him. Deku was his hero from that point on. Deku realizes that the villain mentioned a list, meaning that they were probably after powerful students like him. Back at the villain's bar hideout, Tamura points out the fact that the Vanguard squad is more experienced than the thugs he brought to attack the USJ. He thinks of them as pawns and that he's the player of the game. He only sees them as comrades and leverages them for winning and causing more chaos. Back at the summer camp, Deku tells Kota to hop on his back and hold on as his arms turn into wings. "Where are we going?" asked the scared little kid. "I need to alert everyone and make sure you're safe." "But Mr. Midoriya, what about him? What if he wakes up?" "He's knocked out cold, he'll be out for about 2.5 hours. Even if he wakes up, he won't have the strength for combat. We'll need your help to stop the fire after this is over. Now get on, there's no time to waste." Kota hangs onto Deku as he soars through the sky. Back to the forest lodge, Shota managed to dodge the blast and cancel out the scarred villain's quirk. He then uses his scarf to combo the villain and capture him. "Now talk, where are your friends hiding?" asked the goth teacher. "You honestly think I'd tell you anything? If you care for your right arm and the rest of your limbs, you will talk. Better think carefully." Some of the students along with Tenya and Mineta managed to find Shota as Davi started to turn into mud. Before the rest of the villain melted, he asked the teacher if he could protect and save all of the kids. Shota tells the students to get inside with Vlad King and the others as he runs off. Twice, another villain in the Vanguard squad group tells Dabi that his clone got its ass kicked by someone with a scarf. David tells Twice to shut up and create another mud clone of him to keep the pros occupied. Back to Deku, he's stopped flying and starts running through the forest. With Kota riding on his back as they meet with Shota. Deku tells Shota that he needs to take Kota with him because he doesn't have enough time to tell him about the villain's plan. Shota tells Deku to tell Mandalay to relay a message for him before they parted ways. Back to the Wild Pussycats, they were having a hard time fighting against Spinner and Magna. Magna was able to somehow predict Tiger's movements while Spinner was persistent when it came to fighting Mandalay. Spinner was about to kill Mandalay until Deku came flying in and knocked the villain back with an air pressure punch. Deku picks up Ryuko's body and tells Mandalay to leave the rest to him. He also tells Mandalay that Shota said to use her quirk to relay the message. This message was broadcast to everyone saying, "Everyone in Class A and B, Eraserhead has granted everyone permission to use their quirks and engage in combat." Elsewhere, Shota was carrying Kota back to the school building. "Future heroes, please don't let tonight be the end of your journey. Midoriya, I'm counting on you to protect as many people as you can. Prove me wrong about you." "Mister," asked Kota, "is he going to be okay?" "He's risking his life to save everyone, even me. He saved me even when he was on death's door and I never got to apologize for punching him in the nuts." Shota softly rubs the kid's head and tells him not to worry because he's capable of doing more than he realized. He tells him that he's going to be in a little trouble for breaking protocol. Back to Deku, he was doing some pretty good damage to Magna and Spinner. He was moving so fast that they couldn't touch him. It was like Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku versus Jiren before he reached his super full power form. Deku tells Mandalay to leave and relay one more message. Mandalay relays the message using her quirk saying, "Everyone, the villains are after some of the students to capture or kill. They're after students like Deku and Bakugo, who's called Kachan by Mandalay. Kachan, you need to avoid combat and stick to a group. Izuku is going to be okay since he's handling some of the villains as we speak." Spinner salutes Deku and tells him that out of everyone here, he is worthy of being a true hero. Deku says thanks, but he doesn't care about the hero killer or what anyone says. He stops time and karate chops the villains, knocking them out. Elsewhere, Bakugo was rushing at the teeth-extending villain, ready to fight. Todoroki tells Kacchan that they need to defeat him here and now. The teeth-extending villain shoots more sharpened teeth at the duo, but Todoroki creates a handheld ice shield and blocks the villain's teeth blades. Bakugo tells Todoroki to spawn some ice pillars so he can bring him down. Todoroki uses his ice powers to create some giant ice pillars. He also gives Bakugo an ice shield. Bakugo started climbing the ice as fast as he could, while Moonfish, another villain connected to the Vanguard squad, started shooting his teeth blades at him. Todoroki shoots his high-powerful laser eye beams at the villain's teeth to bring him down to size. He also charges an ice ball in his hand and chucks it at the villain, which starts to freeze the villain more and more. In a last-ditch attempt, the death row inmate tries to shoot teeth blades to kill Todoroki but gets knocked out by Bakugo. Class 1B students Tetsu and Itsuka were running away from the poison gas until Itsuka realized something. When Mandalay made her broadcast, she didn't say anything about the knockout gas, so it didn't spread that far. The poison gas was weak in some areas, then it was where Tetsu and Itsuka came from, so that brings up a theory. Someone, most likely a villain, must be controlling the gas. Tetsu and Itsuka ran towards the center of the gas in order to find the gas emitter. Tetsu gets shot in the face after locating the villain, aka Mustard. Mustard continually taunts Tetsu about his quirk and its durability as he keeps shooting at him. At this point, Tetsu was on his last leg as he was about to run out of breath and willpower to keep his quirk on. As Mustard was about to off Tetsu, a voice was heard behind him saying, "Time to die." Frightened, Mustard turns around and tries to shoot the person behind him, but the gun gets knocked out of his hand. Mustard's stomach gets punctured by the unknown person's hand. Mustard started fainting as he looked at the person's face and noticed his purple and golden eyes and vampire-like teeth. He was becoming skinnier as the person was milking him of his blood. The figure lays Mustard's dead body on the ground as he keeps draining him. Pause. After drinking some of his blood, the person claps both of his hands together to create a shockwave that blows away all of the mustard gas. When the smoke clears, it reveals Deku over the dead villain's body. He walked over to Tetsu and asked if he was okay. "Yeah, I'm fine. If you hadn't shown up, me and Itsuka would be dead. Thank you." Shortly after saying that, Tetsu passes out. Deku tells Itsuka to take Tetsu and regroup with the class as quickly as they can as he runs out to find the others. As he's running through the forest, a dark energy claw reaches out toward the broccoli head in an attempt to kill him. Deku dodges the claw and sees Shoji with some of his limbs cut off. Shoji explains to Izuku that both he and Tokiyami got jumped by villains who managed to cut one of his arms off. Seeing him hurt drove Tokiyami to the edge and triggered his quirk. However, since there was hardly any light in the woods, that meant Tokiyami wasn't able to control his quirk and the Dark Shadow was on a rampage. Deku tells Shoji to regroup with the team and that he'll calm Dark Shadow down. Shoji runs to find and help his classmates, leaving Deku to fight solo against the raged-out version of Dark Shadow. Deku knows that Dark Shadow needs light and he needs a lot of it quickly. Dark Shadow tries to grab Deku in order to crush him, but he evades the attack. He continuously dodges the villainous bird as he begins chopping trees down to surround the gigantic dark energy monster from escaping. The monster surrounded Deku by attacking him from all sides. Deku stops time at the last second as he begins counting. His time stop lasted for 2 minutes, which surprised him. This power was incredible since he never felt this strong before. Deku used his laser eyes on the trees he cut down. Time resumed as the entire area became engulfed in fire. Dark Shadow was panicking as the light from the fire started making him weaker as Toyokomi returned to normal. You okay, Tokiyami? Yes, I'm fine, thank you. Tokiyami, I'm sorry but I gotta knock you out in order to stop your quirk from rampaging again. Sorry. Deku karate chops Tokiyami in his nervous system, knocking him out. Deku carries Tokiyami in his arms as he uses the world for protection in case. You are strong, Tokiyami, but you need to get the Dark Shadow under control. I'm scared of what will happen to you if you don't. Deku runs deeper into the woods as he hears a voice calling out to him saying, Master Dio, over here. It was Todoroki with Bakugo. Deku was glad to see them okay as his hair and eyes went back to normal and his aura disappeared again. Damn it, I guess that power that I had ran out. Are you guys okay? Yeah, what about you, Master? I'm fine. Tokiyami was on a rampage so I had to knock him out. We need to. Before the broccoli head could finish his sentence, he was turned into a small bluish-green pebble. Right in front of their eyes. Todoroki and Bakugo looked above them and saw another villain. This one wore a top hat, an orange trench coat, white boots, a white mask with a black design, and had a cane for a weapon. You know, I could have killed him but instead I would rather get rewarded for capturing your strongest ally. That raw power he was radiating could prove useful, said the masked Monopoly man. Frustrated, Todoroki shoots his laser eyes at the villain but he quickly moves out of the way. The villain proceeds to fly off and alert his comrades that he captured Deku so it's time to make like a tree and leave. Todoroki and Bakugo, who's carrying Tokiyami's body, started chasing after the gliding villain. We're not going over the Toga encounter because that battle goes the same way because there's not that much that changes and there's not that much information that you guys really need to know from the fight. Uraraka and Tsuyu heard a voice call out to them saying, Tsuyu and Uraraka, we need your help, along with fast-paced footsteps heading toward them. It was Todoroki and Bakugo. That villain captured Izuku. I need you guys to use your quirks to launch me after him, I can't let them take him. Uraraka and Tsuyu agree to help Todoroki since they are deeply in love with Deku. Uraraka activates zero gravity on Todoroki who is then launched into the air by Tsuyu. He's soaring through the sky at an insane amount of speed. Within a few seconds, he catches up to the Monopoly Man villain whose name is Mr. Compress. He grabs the villain by the neck and slams him to the ground. He takes the green pebble from the villain, which makes him happy. He thinks he saved Deku but he wasn't transforming back to normal so something was wrong. Out of nowhere, a blue energy fire blast was shot at Todoroki. It was Dabi who fired the blast. Todoroki avoids it due to his vampire instincts and the power of One for All. He powers up to 10% of One for All, hoping he can just knock these guys now quickly but he gets pulled into a black energy void that came out of nowhere. It was Kurogiri. He arrived to assist his team and help them escape. Dabi even calls back the Nomu they brought with them. Yeah, they brought a Nomu with them but it was wearing a helmet with deadly tools within the helmet. It was currently chasing down Momo and another kid from Class 1B. For some reason, it stops trying to attack them as it disarms its weapons. Before it leaves, Momo creates a tracking device and props it on the beast. Everything the camp had planned for came crumbling down everywhere and fell into chaos. Fire is spreading everywhere, the whole place is ruined. At the Forest Lodge, the students are begging Vlad King to let them go and help their classmates since they could be in grave danger. Vlad King said that Shoto was talking about the students in the forest since they needed to defend themselves. Everyone in the Forest Lodge's classroom heard the door outside open. The students think that it's Mr. Aizawa but something doesn't feel right towards Vlad King. Everyone get down, said Vlad King. The door was blasted open by Dabi's blue flames. As the scarred villain enters the room, he's quickly pinned to the wall by Vlad King using his blood manipulation powers. You're quite an idiot charging in here by yourself instead of with a group. You definitely underestimated us, said Vlad King. Oh, don't worry, you guys have already failed. We already got what we wanted. Regardless of what happens to me. The world can never trust heroes the same way it did before, and after tonight I doubt that they'll have faith in heroes. They won't even trust you guys after they find out you guys let one of your students get kidnapped. Deku is ours, said Dabi. The students are worried, but they're prepared to fight. Shota arrives and stomps Dabi out on the floor as he melts into mud. It was a fake, said Shota. I fought one of them before. Their plan was to send their strongest fighters here in order to keep us away since we're professionals. Back to Todoroki. He was fighting against Dabi, Twice, Toga, and Kurogiri. They were able to give Todoroki a challenge. He was struggling a lot since their quirks were quite strong and their teamwork was impressive. Real quick, I decided to buff up their quirks and make their quirks unique instead of just having one purpose. Toga has blood manipulation and her disguise power. Dabi can teleport and use his fire powers like his father, Endeavor, and Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. He can throw fireballs, charge and channel his fire to shoot laser beams like the Kamehameha, teleport, and use his fire to move faster and fly. Twice, aka the $1 Deadpool with the split personality, doesn't really have a buff since he can create up to 1,000 clones. They actually trained together a lot and knew each other's weaknesses. This quickly became a problem for Todoroki. Even though his vampire powers are potent, he can't use one for all past 35 or it'll damage his limbs. He can't heal his limbs either because he has to put a lot of focus on healing. He was having a hard time getting around their attacks and Twice's clones weren't making it easy for him. Nomu. Attack. For behind, Todoroki was quickly dealt with by the Nomu. Dabi, Toga, Mr. Compress, and Twice escaped. They completed one of their primary objectives, capture or kill Izuku. After waking up, Todoroki realized that Deku was gone. He quickly flies back to the forest lodge with a sad face. After entering the classroom, everyone asked Todoroki what happened. They took him. They kidnapped Midoriya. This sent chills throughout the room. Everyone was terrified and sad that their class representative was taken from them. Episode 4. The Downfall. The teachers, Todoroki, and Tenya spent the next 10 minutes scanning and helping the remaining students. After gathering the rest of the students, they called the police, ambulance, and fire department to assist with the fire and take care of the students. All the Class 1A and B girls were scared of the aftermath of the attack, but all of them, including Mandalay and Ryuko, were scared that Deku might be killed. Todoroki was thinking to himself that he failed to protect and serve his master properly until Tenya comforted him about this. The next day, the new paparazzis were outside the gates demanding to have answers to their questions about the attack. You guys can't keep us locked out here forever. At least tell us you have plans to fix this. How did the League of Villains even find out where you guys went? Is there anyone we can speak to who has contacted the families of the kids you allowed to be endangered? The UA High School was closed due to the crisis that was going on. Inside the school's teachers' lounge, the teachers were discussing their next move. They needed to act quickly and reasonably since they couldn't keep the media out forever. Deku was most likely targeted due to his powers and capabilities. They wanted to see if they could negotiate with the Broccoli Head about turning to the dark side, and if he didn't, they could try taking his power for themselves. If he joins the dark side, the world is doomed. President Mike said that there was a traitor in their midst, but the teachers didn't want to argue since they could destroy each other from the inside doing this. Elsewhere, Todoroki was watching over some of his classmates as they were recovering in the hospital. He was scared of what would happen to them, but he couldn't do anything. He gathers his classmates as he shows them the stone mask. I understand, you guys want to help save Deku as much as I do, but we're dealing with forces far beyond our comprehension. You guys are probably wondering what this is. It's the same device that turned me, Izuku, and Tenya into vampires. Everyone was confused because they didn't know what the hell was going on or what the hell Todoroki just said. Like, how could a mask turn people into vampires? Todoroki tells everyone that they're going to have to trust him. I plan on turning everyone into vampires. After that, I'll train you all to wield the powers of one and enhance that power into your quirks. However, since Todoroki didn't have the Asia amulet, everyone except Todoroki was weak to sunlight. Everyone was uncomfortable with this at first, but they knew that Todoroki wasn't going to let the League get away with capturing Izuku. Todoroki told them that he was turning them into vampires tonight, so they needed to get ready. Inside Mr. Compress's green marble, time was moving a lot slower than it was in the real world. Deku had time to train with Cars about what type of powers he had. Real quick, this is Novel Cars in regular anime Dio. Novel Cars was teaching Deku about the second stand power he had that was dormant since he never used it before. It was called the Passion, a stand with the power to foresee the future. It can help Deku a lot in fights since he can see everything his enemies do before they even do it. He was sparring with Cars while he was being taught new powers Cars used. In their first week, he taught Deku gravity manipulation and spatial manipulation, aka space manipulation. In his second week, he learned reality warping, fate manipulation, and reactive evolution. In his third week, he learned power mimicry and lastly creation. Well done, Izuku, even though you're a vampire, never forgive who you are. Deku nods and kneels to the Pillar Man. Yes sir, said Deku. The world aka Dio gives Deku his diary called The Way of Heaven. Deku starts reading what Dio Brando wrote. The book said, in order for this to work, you'll need the power of my stand, the world. Next, you'll need to kill 36 sinners since they carry a strong presence of power from within them. For the rest, you'll need a partner for this. One that doesn't care for sexual desire, money, fame, or anything like that. Go to the highest point of the city and call out to the Father for more strength than you already have. There he'll bring you to him and decide if you should get the power to rule over heaven, meaning he'll sacrifice himself and donate all his power to you. After that, you'll become a creature far more powerful than you were as a human. Deku knows that he can't escape the green marble without Mr. Compress releasing him. He creates a radio and says, Todoroki, can you hear me? Todoroki was confused because he heard Deku talk even though he was captured. Listen to me, very closely. I need you to kill 36 villains by the next day and take their bodies to the highest point of the city. That's all. After that I need you to train your squad for tomorrow. Because the teachers are planning to take down the League of Villains the day after tomorrow. I'm still trapped, so you guys need to free me in order for this to work and take down the League of Villains. Don't fail me, my servant. Todoroki texts everyone and tells them to meet in the forest. He also tells them to wear clothes that cover their entire skin or they'll be burnt alive. 30 minutes later, everyone arrives in their Spider-Man vampire-like clothes. Thanks for coming again. I just got word that the heroes were planning on taking down the League 2 days from now. You guys have shown great progress, but now we need to go beyond our limits in order to free Midoriya. We'll need to hit them in day before the pros launch their attack. They were mastering their quirks and vampire powers while training with each other. They were even helping each other practice and learn combos. For example, they would dive toward logs and freeze them, then kick them into the sky before shooting their laser eyes at them. They were getting better control of their quirks and becoming stronger along the way. Todoroki decided that they were going to go save Deku a day earlier. He tells Tenya and Bakugo about the Izuku plan. They decide to dig up the bodies of villains and killers that have been on the news and take them toward the tallest building, which is a bank. It took 7 hours to get everything in plan. Now, they have to wait for tomorrow. They decided to explore the city until they found a shop that looked like it was broken into. They went inside the store and found an unconscious old man lying on the floor. On the wall, there were wall panels and glass boxes that were shattered. The artifacts they held were stolen. Todoroki wakes up the man as he asks him what happened. I was working and cleaning my artifacts when a yandere school girl and scarred face guy came in and knocked me out. Before I blacked out, I saw them looting my shop. They even took my arrow. The scarred boy got cut by the arrow. An arrow? Asked Todoroki in confusion. Yes, my arrow. Question, are you Shoto Todoroki? The icy hot kid nodded his head. Izuku told me a lot about you. Listen careful, the arrow possesses the power to give people fighting spirits like the one Deku has. They're called stands. If the person has a strong will and is worthy of the arrow's power, they'll get a stand, otherwise they die. Todoroki froze because he knew how strong the world was. If the world was that strong, it's terrifying to think about what kind of power the villains will get from the arrow. Back at the bar hideout, the villains were discussing what their next move should be. Everyone was focused on this topic except Dabi, who was terrified. He was staring at the wall for some reason. He saw a green humanoid with yellow eyes. The strange creature had armor on some parts of his body. Are you okay, Dabi? Asked Kurogiri. Dabi suddenly started yelling at the green humanoid to leave, but it never did. Do you guys not see that thing? They all looked at Dabi like he lost his marbles. Dabi gets up and quickly leaves the bar to escape the creature. However, the creature appears next to him. What the hell are you, an alien or something? Why do you keep following me? Asked the scarred boy, who desperately waited for an answer. My name is Hierophant Green and I'm your stand. Wherever you go, I go to protect you and stand by your side. The scarred boy was still kinda confused about what he heard. Dabi asked his stand how he got a stand. Hierophant Green said that the arrow grants people stands depending on whether they're worthy or not. All stands have different abilities, however there are some cases where stands have the same powers. Dabi asked his stand what type of powers it has. Well, you see, my power is that I can shoot giant emeralds like bullets at my targets. I can even turn myself into a web and read others' movements. Dabi's interest in his stand went through the roof as he went to train in the woods. He was training and learning his stand's powers like the Emerald Splash and Concentrated Emerald Splash, and its ultimate move, 20 meters Emerald Splash. He practiced using his stand to blast through trees for a good hour. He was practicing on trees as he had a fun time. After that, he heads back to the base to report what he learned about the arrow in his stand. After arriving, Dabi says to everyone, the arrow is a powerful tool for us to use. It grants amazing power to those who get pierced by it. It gave me a stand, the embodiment of my life form. Everyone was kinda confused about what Dabi was talking about until he threw a soda can in the air and it exploded in midair. They were scared and surprised by what just happened. That can just explode and nobody even touched it. Dabi didn't even use his quirk. What type of power did the arrow give him? Dabi gets the arrow and says, here's a question, how badly do you want to make a new world order? Finale. Deku's Ascension. The world over heaven. The next day, the students of Class 1A were training for the final time before preparing to take down the League of Villains. They gathered at Izuku's house as they discussed the plan. Some students were standing, sitting on his bed, and some of the students were hanging from the ceiling. Alright everyone, listen up, we have to hit them tonight. They have an artifact that grants them the same kind of abilities as Midoriya, said Todoroki. Everyone was surprised to hear this. Bakugo raised his hand and asked Todoroki and Tenya about what they should do if they got spotted or ran into trouble and were cornered. We do whatever is necessary to survive and take down the villains. By the time the fight breaks out, the heroes will be on their way. We're going to send the whole hidden villain world a message not to fuck with UA or heroes. The team suits up in their clothes made for this mission. Their clothes were kinda like ninja clothes. There were black tracksuits with black masks. As they waited for nightfall, Todoroki was given a tracker by Momo. Some of the classmates were watching the news. The news showed the UA principal and teachers were being interviewed about their plan to attack the villain's bar tomorrow. They explained that they had been gathering information from civilians and got a big tip from someone who saw a villain enter an abandoned building which was a bar. We plan on taking action as soon as we can. There's never a time that we neglected our students. We'll make sure that the villains are locked up and never heard from again. Todoroki and his classmates left the class. As they jumped and parkoured their way to find their hideout on the tracker. As they were approaching the hideout, they noticed the police and a few heroes with them outside the villain's bar. All Might was prepared to bust through the wall, but before he could, the wall blew up in front of his face. All Might was blown back a few feet into a building. It was caused by Toga. The police started shooting, blinding through the smoke left by the explosion. From the other side of the smoke came blue energy waves of fire. The heroes managed to dodge the blasts, but they injure and kill a lot of policemen and women. All Might quickly charged into the bar only to be met with a powerful blow to the chin, sending him flying. It was Tamura and his stand. His stand was blue with green glasses, aka Jolin Kujo's stand, Stone Ocean. Dabi quickly flies over toward the symbol of peace with the use of his quirk. Out of nowhere, a lot of Nomus start to come out of nowhere. The Nomus were the same, but some of them were built like the original Nomu that fought All Might at the USJ. This quickly turned the tide into the villain's favorite by a lot. Everyone was getting badly hurt, and injured, and some started to get killed by the Nomus. Even heroes like Edgeshot and Midnight were struggling. Todoroki signals his team to strike. They needed to help the heroes immediately or they were going to die. They jumped into battle as they started to turn the tide of the battle by a little. They weren't as strong as Deku was, but they had a lot of numbers and power to go a lot with it. Even though the pros didn't want the students there, they were helping out a lot. The stone mask and training gave them enough power to hold their own against the Nomus, but not enough to destroy them or do any real damage. The villains inside the bar started getting teleported away from reappearing black ooze. Tenya, said Todoroki, get the ritual ready, Bakugo, we need to go after the evil Monopoly Man. Todoroki and Bakugo started soaring through the air as they picked up a scent. Elsewhere, Bean Genist, Midnight found a green-haired woman named Ragdoll. One of the members of the Wild Pussycats are completely brain dead or unconscious. They were taken out by the legendary leader and creator of the League of Villains, All for One. Thanks, Master. If it weren't for you, we would have been in deep trouble. No problem, Shigaraki, I can't afford to lose you. You have so much unlocked potential, I need you guys to quickly leave. There's more heroes there than I expected. I'll take down All Might tonight. An ice ball is sent flying, aimed at All for One, but Dabi cancels it out with a fire blast. They looked up to see the source of the frozen blast. It was Shoto Todoroki. Dabi takes the time and calls his stand Hierophant Green to use Emerald Splash on Todoroki. Todoroki saw the stand for a few seconds and saw what it was doing. Todoroki literally brings his arms up to his face in order to shield himself from the bullet barrage of green emeralds heading towards him. He manages to deflect and divert some of the emeralds, but they cause more problems since they destroyed some buildings that people were imprisoned in. Toga throws her knife at the half-ice and fire kid, but he catches it. You shouldn't be throwing the only weapon that you have. You might as well give up since you're useless now. said Todoroki. Toga was actually smiling, and this was surprising to Todoroki. He didn't know what type of stand she obtained from the arrow and what her limits with the stand or quirk were. He tries to throw the knife back at her, but she presses her thumb to her hand like it was a detonator, and this causes the knife to ignite the explosive power curse put on it. The explosive did some heavy damage to Todoroki. His arm was blown off completely, sending him hurtling into the ground. Bakugo lands in front of the League of Villains as he prepares to fight. Kurogiri, get everyone out of here, I'll deal with the R. He stopped mid-sentence once something captured his interest. All Might had arrived and he was ready to settle the beef between him and AFO once and for all. He quickly dashed towards All for One and punched him with 100% of One for All. It had little to no effect. He was quite glad that All Might came because he planned on killing him. Everyone was almost through the portal. When Mr. Compress was about to go through the portal, he started taunting All Might for failing again. This is your fault, All Might. You failed your students in Japan. As he was fully going through the portal, his arm with the green marble in it was ferociously ripped off. Todoroki has done the act. Something was different about him. He had the same purple aura that Deku had during the summer camp training. His hair was red and purple, and his hair was raised like how Trunks from Dragon Ball Super looks when he goes Super Saiyan. He proceeds to fly away as quickly as he can as his power runs out. All for One took aim at the young kid but was stopped by All Might. All Might hated the fact that the students came to help when they should have stayed at home. However, he saw the students have the same powers and techniques Todoroki and Izuku had when they first had this power. All Might was strong, but All for One was stronger due to his quirks, and he was able to get a stand. Flashback to last night, Toga was holding the stand arrow, wondering how this arrow works. You need to have a strong will in order for the arrow to decide if you're worthy or not. If it does, you get a stand. If it doesn't, you'll die. However, getting a stand doesn't mean that it'll be powerful, but it'll help out a lot. Toga was shaking in her shoes when she was about to prick herself with the arrow. Dabi snatches the arrow from her and stabs the arrow in her stomach. Toga was coughing up a lot of blood until she started glowing. After she stopped glowing, the arrow fell out as the glow became purple. She was pissed at Dabi for standing her as she lunged at Dabi, prepared to punch on. As this happens, her stand came out and attempted to punch Dabi square in the face. Dabi dodged the stand as it touched an artifact on the wall. The artifact then blows up and the blast force knocks Dabi into a wall, putting him to sleep. Toga was shocked at what happened as she turned around. She saw a pink muscular guy behind her. The figure was pink with cat-like ears. It had red bloodshot eyes, pants that didn't even cover its legs, black gloves, and it had giant gold buttons on its shoulders, crotch, and gloves. It was the main source of the explosion. For anyone who doesn't know, this is Yoshikage Kira's stand, Killer Queen. A stand that turns anything that it touches into bombs. Hello, Miss Toga, I'm your stand, you can call me Killer Queen. This excited Toga because of the potential power the stand could have. A stand that blows stuff up it touches. She hugged the stand and she was amazed that she got a stand. Real quick, I won't be giving Toga bites the dust because that would be a lot, plus having her redo actions by 1 hour would be dangerous even to stands like the world. Back to the story, Tamura was quite surprised as he cut himself with the golden arrow. He started glowing a strange blue aura when a blue man with green glasses appeared beside him. Yeah, it was the male version of Stone Ocean. He was surprised by this and told his team that they needed to tell their leader about this arrow. Tamura was thinking that the arrow could help them take down All Might and Midoriya if they master all of their stand's power. They also need to increase their numbers since the league lost a couple members that have been killed by Midoriya or arrested by the police, but they'll have to worry about that another time. The heroes were probably on their way tonight then tomorrow. I need to go make a call. Be right back, said Tamura as he steps outside the bar. He takes out his flip phone so the government couldn't track the phone. He calls All for One and tells him the news about the power of the arrow, which astonishes him. The next second, Tamura throws up from the gray ooze that surrounds him. He's teleported to a black room with All for One in front of him. Thank you, Tamura, for reporting to me about what happened and capturing one of the UA's strongest students. I'll be watching tonight for the hero's movements. Back to the present, All for One and his squad were dominating the fight. All for One's quirks and his stand were too strong. The students were even having trouble dealing with the Nomus. His stand was Sea Moon. Real quick, I decided to give All for One Sea Moon because I didn't want to give him Whitesnake and evolve it. I don't know how I would give him the green baby, so I decided to just give him Sea Moon. All for One was actually throwing hands with him. His punches were hurting All Might a lot to the point you can see blood. His last punch impales his heart from his chest. All for One looked deep into All Might's eyes and told him, "You failed, All Might. You never stood a chance, not you, not any of the One for All users, nor Nana Shimura. All of their attempts to stop me have failed. Just like you have failed. So now, you will die." All for One crushes All Might's head slowly as All Might starts remembering his master. "I'm sorry, Master. I wasn't able to stop him. Please forgive me," All Might thought to himself in his last moments. All Might's dead turned into mush as he dies. "At least, you're joining your master," said All for One. The clouds and time froze in place. Deku was in the middle of reading Dio's Heaven about how to achieve heaven when he gets sent to a black room and sees a white light above him. A white light consumes the room and blinds him. As the light fades, he's sent through a portal. Back in the real world, light is sent through the entire area, blinding everyone. The Nomus, heroes, students, and All for One were wondering what was going on as they stopped what they were doing. As the light dispersed from the sky, they saw two figures floating in the sky. The students were happy as they realized who it was. Everyone including Bakugo yelled out one word, "Midoriya. You guys can call me Izuku Midoriya over heaven. My stand the world will now be called the world over heaven," said the now Ascension version of the broccoli head. He was leaning back just like Dio does with his stand the world over heaven. Deku was beyond strong because of the power of heaven and the stone mask going through him. Everyone was feeling his energy. To the heroes and innocent lives, it felt like his energy was giving them a hug, but to the evil side, it felt like death was staring at them like it was their time. Deku starts descending to the ground as he lands in front of all the Nomus. The Nomus dropped what they were doing and went to attack Deku. Within a split second, the Nomus randomly exploded. "I'm sorry everyone, I wasn't able to save and help you all. Please, forgive me." Everyone ran to hug Deku as he used his reality warping powers to heal and revive everyone. As this was happening, All for One was taking this time to flee but was stopped by Deku. Deku donuts All for One through his lower back until his hand goes through his stomach. "Please Midoriya, please spare me," said the leader of evil. "You killed a countless amount of people. Kidnapped and hurt innocent bystanders including children. I heard about you. You and your petty-ass league will be erased from this world. To start off, I'll start by erasing you." All for One didn't have that much of a face, but he was pissing himself as he saw Deku slowly lifting his foot off the ground and positioning it over his head. All for One screamed as Deku curb stomped and crushed the president of the evil's skull open. There was a helicopter recording everything that was happening. Everyone in the city saw how All Might died, and this scared people, made them cry, and feel hopeless until Deku came and put an end to this madness. All Might never stood a chance against the leader of evil, but Midoriya made it look like child's play. He then used his powers to completely erase the League of Villains, all their allies, and the essence of evil from the world. Everyone was happy that he not only took down all for one but saved and freed Japan from all criminals. Deku was on the news and everyone in the world was being called the world's hero. Later in the day, the heroes were out of jobs and Midoriya was walking towards the hospital. After arriving at his mother's room in the hospital, he restores her heart with his godlike power. As she started to regain consciousness, Izuku, said Ms. Midoriya. Yes, Mom, I'm right here. Thank you, sweetie, I'll live to see another day with you. Yes, Mom, I promised you and myself that I'll save you no matter what. Both Midoriyas hugged each other as they started crying. The next day, Deku visited the legendary symbol of peace's grave. Deku reads the message on his grave as he puts a rose next to his grave. The message said, to citizens a hero, to others a teacher, but to the world, a symbol that fights against evil. Deku looks into the sky and the clouds as he pretends that he hears All Might's infamous laugh one last time. The end. Real quick, the reason I'm ending this what if is because I feel like this story isn't what I pictured it to be. Sooner or later, this story will be remade even better. It'll be a while but it'll be worth it. It'll be the same thing but it'll be more detailed.